Hello, 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 everyone. This is Tracilyn, also known as VCAT, and I am in Yellow Springs, Ohio. Over here at the Unfinished Creations. Right across, or I should say a couple buildings down from Little Art Theater. I guess on Main Street. Is where I used to get dressed in my cat outfit, most of the times, not all times, and I would busk when I was in Yellow Springs. I would stand right here on a Sunday, have my guitar case, actually on this side most of the time, and I would play under the sign Unfinished Creations. Can you see it? Unfinished Creations. And in the process of me singing and stuff, I would get started pretty early on a Sunday, like around 10ish in the morning. And then sometimes I would stay here until it started to get dark out, or it got too cold, like I am now, and I would have to get going. Someday I want to shoot a video down here. I like the scene. To one of my songs. I actually got inspired to write a new song, but I have so many songs to record. But I'm hoping that I'll be able to write that song. It's still in my thoughts, and I have it written down somewhere at home. Different things get inspired to me at different times, but nevertheless, I would cross paths with a lot of people that would come here to appreciate and enjoy Yellow Springs on a Sunday afternoon. All kinds of street performances and crafts and people socializing with each other, enjoying what they have to offer. Check it out if you want to. Online, just Google Yellow Springs, Ohio. I always like that theater. You see the lights? It's a romantic place, isn't it? Just being under the lights. This is a spot. There was a gentleman who was in a white truck. And he walked up to me. And in the process, hello everyone. In the process of him walking up to me, he had mentioned to me that, I guess you want to say that there was somebody, I guess there's somebody upset now because I'm here talking to him. He was hinting at me about being with somebody in a relationship who would really appreciate who I was, and I could do my thing, if you would. And it was very nice, pleasantly spoken, that I could do my thing, whether it be street performances, I go out and do live performances, doing my music, and this person would be supportive of myself, and I would be able to go out, do my life, and then return and have somebody who would appreciate and value me. I guess love me. And that all sounds nice and dandy until you realize that whoever it is most likely may be connected to the people who are playing mind games with you and invading your privacy. I don't know how romantic that is. After acknowledging that. Now, with that being said, also, I crossed paths with somebody, I don't know if it was the same gentleman or not, who had mentioned to me about, I'm assuming like a facility or something that might be down the road from here, maybe like a church or a spiritual gathering of some sort, where I was under the influence in our conversation that most likely it was a place for me to go where somebody could lay their hands upon me and I could make, evidently, some kind of commitment. I don't know exactly the details of what that was all about, but that not only happened to me there, that happened to me right about the same time when I was in Cincinnati and I was busking. Now, let me see what else is here. It looks to me like that's pretty much it. There was a lot of different conversations. I met some incredible musicians that are here in the local county that still play out in Dayton, Ohio. It's some places like the Oregon Express and stuff like that. And it was a wonderful experience for me because it was the first time in my life that I ever had the opportunity to literally be myself, do my music while formatting, while becoming more in tune with the way I want to sing or the way I do sing, finding my inner voice that's already in my head. I hear it and I'm trying to match it. It's a story on itself. But it's the first time in my life that I got to be myself, wearing costumes, playing songs, and networking with people who are inviting me into their life, inviting me into shows, etc., etc. And I can't begin to tell you how overwhelmingly beautiful that was to me. It meant the world to me. And it still does, because we live in a hard-ass society that's been preconditioned to have a very challenging time accept ourselves, let alone other people. And it pisses me off because I know I'm an extremely loving and caring person, and I pretty much wasted a lot of energy loving other people when I should have just been loving myself, and to hell with anybody who doesn't appreciate who I am. But this is what we do now. Okay? And I recommend it to you too. Be true to yourself. Do the things in life you love, whatever it is. Stay away from naysayers. And appreciate the ones who appreciate you even in the moment. Much better. Where's this? He's just sitting here.
Yeah.
I don't know who that is.
Okay.
Yellow Springs News Vitamin Outlet. There's a lot that this community has to offer. A lot of people believe in natural resources here. Nature. You know. Vegan lifestyle, a lot of people are. Not everybody, but a lot of people that I've met are. Very informative. Natural remedies, if you will. So I like that. I used to park my car out back of Yellow Springs. I was never felt like I was being harassed by anybody that was stalking me, whether it was tips and tricks. Sometimes they would kind of give me vocal lessons while I was standing there. Different techniques on the way that I can hold the pitch of my mouth, if you will, inside. There's different ways to shape your mouth and your throat. And some people would say, why would you be mad at people who were coming to you and giving you advice like that? And I say, because I wasn't taught, and I don't appreciate people invading my privacy at all. You know, I was raised in an American society where what we do in the privacy of our home is our business. So once I started realizing that people were using my life story, see, the thing is when I went to Las Vegas and I almost died on the bridge, some guy walked up to me on the bridge and he put a bottle in my face, something for me to inhale. I have no idea what that did to me. Did it open up my mind? Kind of like shock it, the conscience, and get things ticking again? That it would kind of like rejuvenate, refresh, reformat, I don't know, my hard drive, my memory. But nevertheless, through whatever source they were using, getting into my mind, they had me share my life story privately. Well, I wanted to share my life story publicly, and I did. But in sharing the details of my life story, spilling out my heart in the bedroom at Huber Heights, I started to realize that these son of a bitches were taking the things that I was sharing to them in the privacy of my home, and they were using them. See, that's what they do to people who are broken. And then they hope to finish them off, or to... They believe, and a lot of times, like I would tell you, that Stephen C. Johnson will tell you, or told me, face to face, that more so than not, these people end up, what? Killing themselves when nobody else will help them. I can't tell you the way that made me think or what I felt like sitting beside somebody who evidently thought this is funny. I don't think it's funny. Somebody taking their own life is not funny. I shot a video with somebody which was really exciting because it was very complicated for me to kind of get people involved in shooting videos with me or assisting in projects. Let's just face it, I want to stay busy all the time, so it would be complicated for people to always be, partnering up with you to be working on your specific projects. So now today we do a lot of stuff for ourselves. And I'll explain more about that because originally my song projects, video projects and stuff was intended that I wanted to work with other people to do wonderful things, and it ended up being that I was never taught right, so I should have just always been doing things myself, is what I'm doing now. And I realize it's better off that way for many reasons, except for the fact that the assholes in the industry rate people like me, and I can't stand it. There is now Prince, who supposedly passed away. Do you believe it? Or did he fake his death like Elvis did? What do you think? Do you think some of these celebrities fake their death for whatever agenda? Now, if they do fake their death, think of how many people take their own lives because somebody they admired so much died. Do you think the assholes in the industry care about that? I'm not saying he did. So don't be upset at me because I just said that. Because when I share my life story about Facebook and stuff like that, and the color purple for myself, which was kind of influenced and inspired by Prince. I love purple a lot. Even before Prince, I have reasons that I like purple. The way that his incident ended up happening and near the end of his supposed life, I believe that they killed the image, but he may not have been killed, or he might not be dead. However, I don't know. However you look at it, I don't know what the news media has fed us, or if it matters. You know? Nevertheless, this is where I shot a video called Fallen Far. And somebody who was really wonderful living here in Yellow Springs that I met while I was busking, who ended up moving to California, videotaped it for me with this camera. Shadam! Okay, so anyway, I noticed that the murals that used to be here on the walls have changed. I guess they like to decorate things differently. You know, unfortunately, they put Prince over the place that I used to play. And you might like Prince, and so what? I used to like Prince too. Before a lot of this stuff happened. There's all kinds of books here. It looked like a bottle of whiskey or scotch or wine or something if you wanted. And you're of the legal age. But I don't know if there's something in it that should not be in it. You never know. Yellow Springs is a beautiful place. I used to come and park out back. And then I would put my stuff in a basket. Sometimes I would carry it. My little rolling amp, my microphone, I would set up and play on Sundays. I kind of miss it, but I don't. I miss the people, the friendly people. But I don't miss, the emptiness I felt inside going through the process that I was going through. It's the people that made me feel, that comforted me. I've been very confused and lost since coming out, if you will, since tapping into my femme spirit, my godly spirit. Tapping into my godly spirit and not having a psychologist available, or knowing to even contact a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Not being forewarned by the church who was ramming things into our heads, it has been a quite lonely experience. You want to talk about instant separation? Start staying true to God's word and the calling that you feel is in your heart. And you will see most likely how fast you lose everything in your life, including the relationships that you were investing in most of your life. You won't be warned about that, but I'll warn you about it. Because that's what intelligence does. Intelligence loves other humans and says, caution. One of the reasons you might be suffering psychologically and in a great deal of pain could be because you've been lied to about everything your whole life. And you're trying to live in the footsteps of what we're told you should be living, and it doesn't work. It's not natural, baby. I am done. This is where somebody was coming to approach me and mention about some jackass that evidently, I could be, staying with while I go and live my life, and wouldn't it be wonderful to go home to somebody who would love you? And I would say, if all he wants to do is sit around, more than likely not. If I'm going to be in a very close relationship with somebody, I want to be with somebody who's motivated, desires to do much more than sit at home and wait, or desires to sit around and cook all day. And there are people who would appreciate that. I am not one of those. I'd rather value and be with somebody who's on the go and wants to do something. Do something. Just do something. Let's stay away from sex. Because if we're not enjoying other things in life other than sex, we're not even enjoying that. In other words, you gotta have compatibility. See, there's a lot of issues with that. A lot of people wonder, why don't our relationships work out? Well, what do you have in common with the people you're around? Are you the one who always has to, like I used to have to do? You always got to go to, not their level, but you gotta include yourself into what it is that they're doing. This is what religion has beat the shit out of me with, that I should be a servant to the others in my life, when the reality is, no, I shouldn't. I shared a lot of that stuff, and I don't want to keep talking about it. The bottom line is, you are looking at somebody in this video right now whose life got completely screwed up because of our school system that failed to teach me properly. In a very greedy, evil corporate world where the corporation supposed owners are a bunch of fucking bastards who don't give a shit about your life, and they sure as hell don't care about my life. Or they would have been very generous to say, well, evidently, you need work, good lad. Nope. It gives them pleasure to see other people in suffering. And by the way, they take all their ideas. This is how they survive. They sit on their fat asses all day, monitoring you and me, and sneaking into your kitchens and seeing what ingredients are you using to create that. Is it your music? Is it an invention you're working on? Is it a computer software program? This is how these people get rich. Now, do they even use money? Are we the only people who are using money and working for money? Do these people work at all? Or do they just take from everybody? And they just create whatever they want. And they keep us from the best of everything. Well, if you look up scripture, you will see that all belongs to God. And it's in there. Everything was given to his one and only Son, and equally, not partially. All was given to the one who believes in his one and only Son, which is anybody who believes. And let me tell you something, once you really get it, you get it. All that is on this earth is meant for all of our enjoyment. And when you tap into your heart, you will realize that you don't want what you don't want. You want what's in your heart. Because that's what intelligence says. Less pain and suffering and more enjoyment. You don't just want things that other people have. You want things that are in alignment into bringing you into happiness, fulfillment, your own life truth. These bastards keep playing with my head somehow, into my thoughts. Again, I'm going to say it, and I'm going to continue to say it. I'm convinced that it's Stephen C. Johnson, or it's somebody who really hated him, or it's a program of some sort, which I highly doubt it, because the conversations that go on inside my head is kind of like a repeat of a lot of things that I've been through since I met him. And I gotta be honest, the second that I met him and I observed him talking to people he invited into the home, the clan that supposedly worked with Willie Nelson, film crew or whatever the hell they were, you realize that there was something really strange and odd going on that was not normal for me in communications with other people. But I observed it and I said, I got to go. The things that came out of his mouth were not pleasing to my ears. I gave him a second chance a little bit later on in a home that he moved down the road from, in a little farmhouse on Old Lake Shore Drive, I guess it is, in Derby, New York. And that was the last opportunity I realized that he's just a fucking head game player. And I'll explain more about that. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I believe that he has a means to stealing from people their creative insight, their intelligence. Some people would say dreams, visions, whatever the deal is. He is one of the people of the earth who has the access and ability to do this. And in my opinion, he should be arrested. He should be investigated. I met him down in Nashville. You don't know it. Do you know how you know it? You know how you can lead these assholes to you? Have heart. Write about something you really believe in when it comes to the word freedom and human rights. And you see how quick these people will start to come around you. And sometimes they let people know, like you, like the person who would do that, is that they would normally kill somebody like me. For what reason? Because they want to shut your mouth. Because you could be part of the waking up process, which is informing and letting people know that the life they've been taught is not necessarily real. But you have to go through, I had to go through years and years and years of diving into the depths of God's Word. I didn't look at it on just black and white surface. I invested years. This is stuff that was never taught in our school systems. You talk about taking God out of the school systems, but that can't be possible. You cannot remove God from anything. Only an idiot would even think that for a second, that God could be removed. Because once you get it, our minds are like a computer, and words, images. See, we're taught what an image is and what it means. We're taught what letters together in a word, what it means. Does it really mean that? Well, once you put all these words together in images, it becomes codes in our brains like a computer. And when that happens, it becomes very dangerous, because what happens on the outside of our life our brains and our main focus, like this camera, like it focuses in, that becomes our life. And therefore, like even now, do you think I want to be sharing this? Do you think I want to be sharing about Joyce Myers and Joel Osteen and the assholes and our fucking government and shit? Our system, the people behind the system? Do you think I want to be wasting my fucking energy doing that? I don't. Because I really love life. So why am I doing it? Because I gotta be quite frank, I don't know what else to do. Because I've reached out to hospitals and told them I believe there's some kind of chip in me. Because people find it hard to believe that an officer of the law would frame a prostitute. Right. And a lot of people would be in agreement that what they're told is a prostitute should be framed. We should remove them all from the earth. The only people that would say that are people who are jealous and bitter. That's it. We are entitled to freedom by choice. And if I want to suck somebody's dick or have my she-cock be sucked by somebody in exchange for any amounts of freedom, that's my business. It's not the government's business. It's not a policeman's business. It's not the city council's business. It's not my next door neighbor's business. It's not your business. It's nobody's business. The first time I ever stood in front of a judge that had a circle, literally a circle, a half a circle of people in the room. There had to be 30 fucking people there. All guilty. Sting operation. Do you think all of us that were standing there were all fools and agreed to exchange money for sex? I would never do that. I never did do that. Some people may do that, but I did not. Unfortunately, because we've been dumbed down and taught that transsexuals are not really females, they're really crazy people. And let's face it, years ago, this country used to lock people like that up in mental institutions for life. And they would mentally torture them. And you can ask any transsexual female that has done research, and they'll tell you the same thing. This is America, baby. This is what we do to people who will not conform. In my situation, I can't conform to society's idea of life because it's not natural. It is unnatural. So what do you do about a situation like that? When the things that you do by nature is where your life is at. For me, it's with music. It's being myself. Well, when the people who are oppressing you and taking everything, it's like they have their hand on your forehead, while other people are raping the shit out of you. I'm here to tell you that the whole entire industry raped the fucking shit out of me. They fed off of me. The privacy of my home. Do you care? Do you not care? Whether the President of the United States, if that's what you want to respectfully call him, Donald Trump, he may or may not directly or indirectly be aware. But I can tell you, in sharing my life story and the entire 50-song project and things I was doing here while on the streets, was being used in his campaign to run as president. Now I'm here to tell you that there is no man his age, I don't give a fuck who he is, or she, that is going to be in tune and as aware as somebody who has done years of religious research, biblical research, psychological research. Businessmen don't have time to do all that. They're running business. And where do you think business people of any kind who don't have time for all this other stuff get all their information? They get it from the up and coming. Why is all of a sudden the LGBTQ thing so huge? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because a lot of people, including myself, stepped up and said, this is bullshit. We can't keep living this way. Well, you wouldn't believe it, but I'm convinced. And if I really went through the details, I have videos time and date stamped of when I originally uploaded them to YouTube. And whether the president, if that's what you want to call him, directly or indirectly, unknowingly, somehow was being informed this way, if you want to call it. There were things as I was going through my life story and stuff that all of a sudden started appearing in what I would say his campaign running.
Most honest president we've had in years.
Huh?
Most honest president we've had in years.
You think so? I disagree with that. You see, there's somebody who says the most honest president we ever had in years.
I'll give my face if you can't take my picture.
Huh?
I'll give my face if you can't take my picture.
What's your name?
Michael.
Michael. Now, why is it that you would say that?
Because it
Do you know
represents a group of individuals that haven't been willing to speak up.
Really? What would you... I wanted to talk to you about something. You won't listen, will you? So you heard what this person said, so that was not willing to speak up. Right at the time that he was running his campaign for presidency, the person, the human being, that went through a lot of fucking struggles. And I'm here to tell you that son of a bitch was utilizing my entire life story and the projects that I was personally working on. And you would listen to people like this and they would say that he's one of the most wonderful presidents ever. Maybe to a lot of people, but let me ask you, would he be a wonderful president if you knew he was directly or indirectly had access to invading your privacy and taking your inner thoughts? Taking your creative insight and ideas? What would you think of it then? To me, I laugh when that guy goes by and he says that. Whoever the hell he was. I wanted to interview him. He didn't want to be interviewed. He just wanted me to show his face. He loves our president. And I don't know nothing about him. I didn't know anything about him until he ran for presidency. Supposedly he was willing to speak up. Well, I'm willing to speak up to him, myself, not just this way, to his face. I believe, indirectly or directly, he had access to invading my privacy and utilizing my life journey and story and project that I was working on while on the streets of Yellow Springs, while on the streets of the Oregon District in Dayton. I believe that I was being monitored by a large group of people. And not only the president, but religious communities and people in show business of all walks of life were somehow getting the information that I was doing. Were they all invading my privacy at once? And my question to you would be, in their opinion, it would probably be more like better to sacrifice one person to help the world at large. How would you feel if this was happening to you? While I was in New York, when I came back from Las Vegas, I walked across the street over into a park that's in there. I gotta think about this one. It's one of the most beautiful parks, and it's in, I guess, Manhattan, New York area. Can't think of it. Maybe you know what it is. This is my point of getting you to include yourself into this. But there was a gentleman that kind of ran up to me, and he walked with me across the street. And he informed me at that time that basically what it was on a journey that I was on was not what they were intended. They had something else in mind. And I'm here to tell you that they used me as a resource. And for somebody like that to drive by in their car and say that he's one of the most honest presidents ever, to somebody who knows that directly or indirectly, basically, they had access to invading my privacy and they utilized me as a resource, I would be in total disagreement that he is just as dishonest as any other human being on the fucking planet. This is not a personal video to bash anybody in any figure. It is me sharing yet again my experience while I was busking. And the only way you're going to know is if you have a real purpose in mind that really pisses people off. And you get your ass out on the street and you start singing about the cause you believe in. And you will realize really quickly either A, you're going to get killed, or B, they're going to start approaching you, pretending to be like God of the universe, trying to hijack your mind into believing the thoughts that you think about and that you talk about manifest into some kind of reality. Their goal, to take absolutely everything in this situation from me and then leave me to die. So when some smartass like this guy who just drove by and mentioned about that says what he said, it's a huge disappointment to me because there's no words that I could share with him to get him to really get what the hell happened to me. And that this is the person that they call president, and more than likely, there's a lot of people that we admire from a distance and for many different reasons that we see on the surface. But if we were to really know about these people, whoever they are, we would probably want them lynched or taken out of office. There's an illusion, a mask, a presentation that for the most part tries to grab hold of the masses in favoritism. But that's not to say about all the lives that are being trampled on in the process of them doing that. And I can guarantee you that most likely in a situation like this with this gentleman here that just pulled up, he wanted to show me his face, but away he fucking went. Why is that? A lot of times when you're talking to somebody like that, they'll tell you something like the president is this or that or the other, you know, they're in favor of him. But then they won't stop when you want to interview them. We want to talk to them. Let's get talking about it maturely. They just tear off. And I would say that's because they don't want to deal with reality. That maybe the person that they're looking up to maybe isn't all that. I don't like being distracted like that. Nevertheless, my story is to share with people that go down to Nashville, other creators, other humans. Our privacy is being invaded. We either been chipped at birth, we either get chipped along life's journey when we go to the hospital or somewhere, or there are more powers from within us than we've been taught, so we haven't been taught how to really use it, or we can really seriously communicate with our mind, and we haven't been taught this. Nevertheless, we've been taught into other people's agenda versus into our own life truth. Just like now, mine is music. And I'm stranded out here pretty much in Ohio because I believed in the Santa Claus that Joel Osteen preaches about. And Joyce Myers. Because of a lack of love and compassion for humanity. When somebody says, because their president did something for people at large, I'm going to be picking at your brain to see what the hell does the president care about with this? Because I've learned a lot in my journey of being homeless and being a transsexual female. And I gotta tell you, it pisses me off that along the way, they'd love to see me going through my journey and take every freaking idea that I had or every insight that I had. And it's for the better of humanity, supposedly. And all I can say, it's a laughter to see anybody who would look up to people like that. I've learned never to look up to anybody. Nor do I want to be looked up to. So, anyway, I wish a guy would have stayed here so we could talk maturely. So what's your insight? Do you love our president? You think he's the greatest? What if you found out that the team that he was around has access to invading your privacy and taking your ideas for the better of humanity? Would you be excited about that? Or would you be pissed? What would you do about it? Would you just let it go and let these people keep on torturing you mentally? Would you drive to DC and say, I need to speak to the president? What would you do? Leave a comment down below. Hit the like button and please share this message. YouTube, unfortunately, has blocked me on the Outward Bound. I have stories to share with that. And get this, that originally all I wanted to do is share my life story, do my music, and move on with my life. There's no other way for me to survive in this very selfish country that we live in, state of awareness that we live in. So I had to take a lot less than I'm worthy of. And a lot of that came through the mental manipulation of our religious communities and the lack of concern or consideration for the human race to be forewarned that this is somebody's idea of what God is. Use caution when applying the teachings. So I will tell you, use caution when listening to Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, or any of the other mega churches, JT Jake, whoever it is. Be very, very careful. Because in the process of you seriously applying the teachings, you could end up being used by people who say it's the greatest president of the United States. And you might not be happy about it.